there, I'm Aman from Arden Progressive School and you're watching PTO classes. So, today we are going to revise in this lecture active and passive voice. Okay, by far we have revised the chapter conjunction and before that we concluded our course. And in today's Google Meet, we are going to have a look in the chapter direct and indirect speech. So before that, we are going to revise active and passive voice. This chapter very recently we have covered and there were a few doubts from your end. So let's quickly take this chapter and I will try to clear all the doubts that are there in your mind, and then later on we are going to take it in our Google Meet as well. Okay, so active and passive voice is not a very complicated chapter, complicated topic. We make it complicated. We think much about the rules and everything, but if we will see the topic in a general way, if we will not focus much on the rules and other things, yes, we have to learn them, but if we will be more focused on learning rather than just reading it, then there will be nothing that can confuse you. So as you can see, the active voice of a verb tells us that someone or something does the action. Okay, so someone is doing the action, that is active voice. Someone is doing. The passive voice that tells that someone or something has an action done to them. Okay, so they have received an action. For example, see, James watered the flowers. The flowers were watered by James. So in the first sentence, James was in action. James watered the flowers. In the second sentence, the flowers were watered by James. That means the flowers were in command. So James, obviously he is the subject. Okay, he is doing the action, and in the second sentence, the flowers, the objects are doing some action. Okay, the subject is receiving some action. Let's take one more example. Sarah finished the homework. The homework was finished by Sarah. So Sarah here in the first sentence is the subject and is doing some action. In the second one, Sarah is receiving some action. Okay, so this is the difference between active and passive voice. In one sentence, you do the action, in the other, you receive the action. Active means active voice means that a sentence has a subject that acts upon its verb, that does some action. And in passive voice means that a subject is a recipient, okay, is receiving the action of a verb. You may have learned that passive voice is weak and incorrect, but it is not that simple. When used correctly and in moderation, the passive voice is fine. We often think that active voice is easy to speak, easy to write, but it is not the case. Passive voice is also very easy. It is just that you have to learn it in a better manner. In English grammar, verbs have five properties. Okay, there are five properties of verbs. See, voice, mood, tense, person, and number. What are the five properties? There is voice, the mood, in which mood you are speaking, the tense, at what time the action is taking place, person, who is doing the action, and the number, in what quantity the action is being done. Here we are concerned with voice. Now we have to learn about the voice. The two grammatical voices are active and passive voice. What is the difference between these two? Let's see. First of all, active voice. When the subject of a sentence performs the verb's action, we say that sentence is in active voice. When the subject of a sentence, okay, in the chapter sentences, it is clear, it was clear to you that what is a subject, what is an object, okay. From the very beginning, from the junior grades, you are learning these. so I don't think there will be an issue over it. Okay, so sentences in the active voice have a strong, direct and clear tone. Okay, they say it very directly. Here are some examples. Okay, let's see some examples. First of all, monkeys adore bananas. This is an active voice because monkey is the subject and he is doing the action. Okay, verb is reacting to the subject. The cashier counted the money. The cashier is the subject and money is the object. The dog chased the squirrel. Okay, the dog is chasing the squirrel, so the dog is the subject. All three sentences have a basic active voice construction. There is subject, there is verb, there is object. The subject, monkey, performs the action described by adore. Okay, adore means the monkey likes, the monkey enjoys. Similarly, in the second, the dog performs the action. In the third, sorry, the dog performs the action. In the second, the cashier performs the action. Okay, so this is it. The active voice reminds us of the popular Nike slogan, just do it. They take action in their sentences. The subjects are doing, doing, and doing. Okay, it is a very easy example given here. The Nike slogan is there. Just do it. Okay. So whenever the subject is doing some action, it is always active voice. Now, what is passive voice? A sentence in the passive voice, on the other hand, when the subject is acted by the verb, the passive voice is always constructed with a conjugated form of to be. Okay, plus the verb's past participle. For example, see, the bananas are adored by monkeys. Okay, here monkeys are the subject, but the action is the verb adore is describing the object. Bananas are adored by monkeys. Monkeys are not adoring the bananas, but bananas are being adored by monkeys. The money was counted by the cashier. Exactly opposite. Okay, in the first, the cashier was counting the money. Here, the money is counted by the cashier. So, very easy, there is nothing much. So, when to use active and passive voice? Using the active voice conveys a strong and clear tone, as I have explained earlier, that it is very direct, very clear. Here are some good advice. Don't use the passive voice just because you think it sounds a bit fancier. Because bananas are eaten by monkeys, you find it a little fancy. Monkeys eat the banana. It is very simple. So don't do this. Don't make your sentences fancy. Don't do it. Okay. So this is what we have here, where to use active and passive voice. Okay. Now we are going to take a look into your book, that what is described in the book. Then we will quickly conclude our topic.
Okay, so now we will see in depth what active and passive voice really is. So from your book only we are going to study it. So there are two kinds of a verb, as I have told you in the opening remarks, that there are two kinds of a verb, transitive and intransitive. Transitive requires an object. Okay, so transitive verb requires an object, as I have told you, as I have explained. Transitive verb has two voices through which we can speak or write sentences. This much is clear. What is transitive? Transitive requires an object. Without an object, transitive verb is not there, because it asks the question that what, whom. Like she plays the guitar. Okay, and like for intransitive, the dog ran away. Here you don't need an object to complete the sentence. Ran is the verb, so it is intransitive verb. Okay, so transitive verb has two voices, active and passive, where we can through which we can speak or write sentences. These are active voice and passive voice. These two voices are active voice and passive voice. Active voice is when the subject of a sentence is the doer of the action. Okay, mark this line, that when the subject of a sentence is the doer, okay, the verb is said to be in the active voice. Most of the time we use this voice. In this voice, the sentences are shorter and action is clearly expressed. Okay, so where the active voice is used, how to know it? When the subject will be the doer, will be in the commanding position of the sentence, it is doing the action, then it is in active voice. Okay, and these are shorter sentences. For example, the writer writes an article. The subject, you all have learned in sentences what is a subject and what is an object. The writer writes an article, so the writer is the subject and it is doing the action, it is the doer, the writer is writing, so it is in active voice. Now see for passive voice. When the subject is the recipient of the action, the verb is said to be in passive voice. Okay, when the subject for whom the action is happening is in the object part of the sentence, is the recipient of the action who is receiving the action, then the verb is said to be in passive voice. See, in this voice the sentence is expressed in an indirect way. In the active voice the sentences are shorter and clear, but in passive voice the sentences are indirect. How? Earlier one was the writer writes an article, short, clear, the writer writes an article. Here an article is the object of the sentence, an article is written by the writer. So the writer, who was the subject, now is in the receiving end. Earlier it was the doer, now it is in the receiving end. An article is written by the writer. This much is clear, that what is active and what is passive voice. Where the subject is in the commanding position, where the subject is the doer, it is in active voice, and where the subject is the recipient, where the subject is receiving the action, it is the passive voice. The verb is in the passive voice. Now a very important chart, this chart you need to make in your grammar notebook. Okay, look at the following chart to understand active and passive voices. Okay, so here number of columns are there. First the tenses are there, that which tense, then active passive verbs and the active passive actual verbs. Helping verbs you all are aware, is, am, are, all that are helping verbs, and the actual verbs like the play, sing, read, dance, etc. and the examples. So this chart you need to draw in your notebook and you need to understand really well. Okay, so when the tense is in present indefinite, that means simple present tense, the tense is in simple present tense form. How the active and passive verbs will be? The helping verbs do and does, is, am, are, it is used, okay, in the sentence when the tense is in simple present form, then the simple present form, then the helping verbs will be do for active and does for passive. Okay, now the helping the actual verbs, in the active it will be first form, and the passive voice it will be third form. The first one I am again repeating, in the active and passive voice, the helping verbs, active, suppose if active is do and does, okay, active will be do and does. In simple form, in simple present tense, the active verbs, active helping verbs, active voice helping verb will be do and does, and in the passive form it will be is, am, or are. Okay, and same for the main verbs, the main verb will be in the first form, and in the passive voice it will be the third form of the verb. Okay, like in the first form of the verb it will be sing, in the third form of the verb it will be sung. Okay, example, Neha sings a song, it is in the active form. Then active voice, then in passive voice it will become a song is sung by Neha. Okay, this is what you need to focus on, that do or does is for the active voice and is MR is for the passive voice in when the sentence is in simple present form. Okay, and the first form of the verb will be there for active voice and it will become third form of the verb. Now for past indefinite tense, simple past tense, the active voice will be did plus first or the second form of the verb. Okay, and for passive it will be was or were. Okay, similarly for the actual verbs it will be in the first form of the verb and or second form of the verb. Then for passive voice it will become third form of the verb. See example, active voice first or second form. The second form of sing is sang. Neha sang a song. Okay, a song was sung by Neha. Okay, was or were will be added in the passive voice when you will be changing it to passive voice. Now the third case, the simple future tense. Will or shall will become will, shall, and it will add be in it. Okay, will or shall will be there and it will be added with a be. The first form of verb will become the third form of the verb. Neha will sing a song. Simple present, simple future tense. It will become a song will be sung by Neha. Okay, third form of the verb plus we will add be after will. Okay. Now present continuous tense is RM will turn have being with it when we are turning it into passive voice. Okay, is MR is RM will have being with it, and the actual verb will have ing form in the active voice, and when you are turning it into the passive voice it will be the third form of the verb. How? See, Neha is singing a song. A song is being sung by Neha. Okay, simple. In the active voice it was is MR plus verb's first form. So Neha is singing a song. Ing is also there. Now when we will turn it into passive voice, the third form of the verb will come into play and is MR will be added with a being. Okay, a song is being sung by Neha. Now for the past continuous tense, was and were will be there for active voice and being will be added here as well. And in the actual verb, it will be the first form in the ing form of the verb, and for passive voice it will become the third form of the verb. Neha was singing a song. Neha was singing a song will be the active voice. A song was being sung by Neha. It will be in the passive voice. So see what you have to do. You have to learn all these. You have to draw this chart and 8 forms of the tense you have to write and you have to learn it very well. So is it clear? Now we are going to take a look into some more examples of active and passive voice. Okay, the cow does not give milk. It is in the active voice because the subject is in the doer form. Milk is not given by the cow. It is in the passive voice. Does the cow give milk? It is in the active voice. It is the interrogative sentence. So what will be in the passive voice? Is the milk given by the cow? Simple. What you have to do, the subject which will be in the doer form, you have to change it into the recipient form. Just see that the sentence is having a transitive verb or not. Transitive verb means that it has the object or not. Okay. Did you win the game? Was the game won by you? Okay. Like this you have to do. I did not teach you. You were not taught by me. So these you will only do if you are aware of the chart. So you need to go through the chart very well. Was the boy teasing the monkeys? Were the monkeys being teased by the boy? See, was has become were and being is added after the monkeys and teasing has become the first form with ing has turned into the third form of the verb. So this is very important. You have to take a very careful look into the chart. Am I scolding you? Are you being scolded by me? So this is very easy active and passive voice. You need not to bother much. Just learn the chart well, understand the basic well. You will be able to do every question based on this.